Welcome back, my friends. I'm back with a new name, Front Porch Prog, because I want to discuss music like I would with my neighbor on my front porch. Down here in the South, that's how we deal with things. So, I decided to give my channel a new name, and I'm going to discuss music. Sometimes it'll be prog, sometimes it'll be psychedelic rock, what I normally do. But I just decided, why not change the name? Uh, maybe it'll catch on. I don't know. So, anyways, getting down to it, because that's what I like to do. I want to talk about my top 12 favorite songs of 1970, not top 10, not top 20, top 12, because there's 12 months in a year, and I thought, why not 12? So these are not all prog songs, they're just songs. My 12 favorite. So let's start with number 12, The Boxer by Simon and Garfunkel, Bridge Over Troubled Water. So the Boxer probably belongs much higher on this list objectively because I believe it's one of the greatest songs ever written. Paul Simon wrote this song. It's such a remarkable storytelling song, and then you got Art Garfunkel and his majestic harmonies. And I think it's got one of the most recognizable choruses in popular music. It's such a timeless song. The lyrics are deeply human, and every listen sort of like reveals another layer to me of something maybe I hadn't heard before. So but it's not just that part of this song, but that being part of history, but it's part of my own history. Because when I hear the Boxer, I don't think about Paul Simon or Grammy Awards or critics lists or anything like that. I think about my mother singing it. So long before I understood the poetry of the lyrics, or the brilliance of the composition, I just knew the sound of her voice singing these songs, and somehow those memories became woven into the song itself. So now it's impossible for me to separate when I hear that song from that memory. So it's like one of those beautiful mysteries of music. Sometimes a song is great because of who wrote it, the artist, and sometimes it becomes, and most of the time I would say it becomes great because of the people we share it with, or the time and place we were when we first heard it. And so every time the Boxer begins, every time I hear it, I'm reminded that music doesn't, it's not simply preserving the melodies as much as it is the moments and the places, and the people. So that's something that no chart position, can measure. So that was number 12. Number 11 is going to be Slightly All the Time by the Soft Machine from the album Third. Soft Machine was not very interested in writing conventional songs, and Slightly All the Time is a good example of that. So it lasts about 18 minutes, which I love long songs. I love long epic tracks. I'm a big fan of Floyd and Yes, but it's not much of a rock composition. Is more like a jazz, almost improvisational. I'm sure it's not, but that's what it sounds like. It's like it's happening in real time. The music just flows so naturally from one section to the other without even sounding repetitive. And I love the fuzz bass in it, and the keyboards, and the saxophone, and everything. So it's just continually pushing the boundaries. It's pushing music into like these unexpected areas that, you know, it's just the moments where the band seems to communicate like telepathically or something. The music is it's not a something casual, that you would play. This requires attention. I guess you could put it on as background music, but really, it's something that every time I return to it, I hear something that I've never noticed before. And I think that's one of the best, greatest compliments that you could ever give any piece of music. So, slightly all the time. Number 11. Number 10 is by King Crimson. It's called Cadence and Cascade from In the Wake of Poseidon. And if somebody ever told you that King Crimson is mostly this loud, sort of complicated or uh, type of music, I would play Cadence and Cascade. This has to be one of the most beautiful, peaceful songs ever written in this band's entire discography. Robert Fripp's acoustic guitar is almost impossibly delicate. And then you've got Mel Collins and the flute and just the arrangements like a gentle breeze. And then you have Gordon Haskell delivering this vocal track with you just got to hear it. I mean, what I love most about this song is it's just restraint. It's not rushed. It's like everything just kind of floats down. It's like every instrument leaves room for creating the atmosphere. Sometimes it's not how much you can put into um, how many minutes. It's like how much space you have. And this sort of sounds like a dreamlike. It's got a dreamlike quality to it. And I've listened to this song so many times over the years, and it never seems to grow old to me. So I feel like it is one of King Crimson's best work, even though it is this slow, uh, almost dreamlike song, as I said earlier. It's not really a pastoral song, but it doesn't demand your attention really. It just earns it. So number 9 is going to be What About Me by the Quicksilver Messenger Service from the album What About Me. And Quicksilver's Messenger Service is, again, one of my favorite psychedelic rock bands. I believe they deserve more recognition than they have received. And, some of their San Francisco psychedelic rock contemporaries became household names. You got the Grateful Dead and you got the Jefferson Airplane, but to me, Quicksilver is such a underrated band, and with this song, they're making such a passionate statement. And it's a little hippie, naive, but it's got a good point to it, and musically, it's a wonderful blend of sort of folk rock and you've even got some sort of Latin influences. Dino delivers one of the strongest vocal performances of his career. I just love his voice. Um, and the arrangement here is just, it feels loose. It feels, I love that about Quicksilver Messenger Service, especially in the 70s. It just feels so loose. And they allow every instrument to contribute without anybody trying to dominate in the mix. I feel like um, I always appreciate songs that ask questions too. Um, so what about me? It's just it's a great song, and I feel like it's more than just a song that went to its generation. It lasts. So number 8 is Circus by King Crimson, and this is off the Lizard album. They released 2 albums. If Pink Floyd has this musical landscape and King Crimson sort of builds these unsettling worlds, I would say. So, and this is obvious from Circus. This is sort of Robert Fripp. I mean, this angular guitar and this mellotron, and you got this chaotic sax, and it's like everything just feels unpredictable in this song. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's some really lovely parts to it, but it's just like with sharp edges or something. It's like looking at a beautiful knife or something. And so the circus is sort of like, it becomes a symbol of humanity, itself, people performing and pretending and manipulating and hiding behind masks. And, it's just, I love Gordon Haskell's vocals are a little bit more unsettling, more madness on it than Cadence and Cascade. But this is why I love King Crimson. They're so different. Like nobody is like King Crimson. Robert Fripp pushed this band into increasingly adventurous territory all the time. And so Circus is going to, it gives you something different, but it's just such a great song. Number 7 is going to be Child in Time, Deep Purple in rock, Deep Purple. There's great vocal performances, and then there's Ian Gillan on Child in Time. So I don't know how anybody has ever quite sounded like this before. I mean, it's almost like it begins like a whisper, and then it builds up into this. Gillan unleashes these screams, these displays of vocal power. It becomes an emotional part of the music as much as the lyrics. And then you got the Hammond organ, which is like the foundation of the entire piece, and it just creates this ominous mood. And then you got Ritchie Blackmore and one of the greatest guitar solos in rock history. It's just on every phase. It's just build, 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 and it delivers. It's just a remarkable song. It's just drama, and it's like a great symphony. It explodes. uh, and again, it is a towering achievement of heavy rock, to me. And I really appreciate that one. Child in Time. Number 6 is Carry On by Crosby, Stills, and Nash from the album Deja Vu. Some of these songs capture like an entire generation, and Carry On is one of those songs. It's got this optimism to it, but gosh, I'm telling you, Crosby, Stills, and Nash have some of the finest vocal harmonies ever recorded. And they're so relaxed, they're so groovy. It just feels like somebody you'd hang out with on the Prague porch here. So I don't know. I just feel like they made masterpiece after masterpiece because the harmonies are so legendary, and they're such great musicians, each one of them. Even when Neil Young was in there, it just seemed everything works. Everything works for them. And this is it almost seems like they do it effortlessly. And there's just something timeless about the message of that song and of their music. I mean, it's just Carry On is just such a fantastic track. Number 5, Friends, Led Zeppelin 3 from Led Zeppelin. If you only knew Led Zeppelin from like Whole Lot of Love and Rock and Roll and Stairway, and you're thinking, what in the world is this song? But Jimmy Page picks up this acoustic guitar, and he gives it this exotic, weird tuning, and records one of the best acoustic tracks ever. Everything about this song feels mysterious. um, it's an unusual guitar tuning, and it just transports you to this sort of weird place, like haunting string arrangements, with it. And it's based on the Gustav Holst piece Mars. If you ever listen to Gustav Holst, The Planets, go listen to that song and then go listen to Friends from Led Zeppelin 3. It is one of the most coolest, bizarre acoustic songs with string arrangements. I mean, you'll love it. I just know you will. And to me, it's just one of those songs that they just went beyond, expectations here. Um, and they just proved they could write music that was just as powerful without turning up the amplifiers here. Friends is one of the finest examples of atmosphere over volume. I think that's why it always stayed with me. Number 15, I mean, number 15, I'm 15 minutes. Number 4, Return of Sweet Lorraine, Country Joe and the Fish. Surprise. Most people remember Country Joe and the Fish, if you even know who he is at all, as a protest song in the late 60s um, about Vietnam. But this song is far more melodic. Return of Sweet Lorraine is one of those songs that I've quietly loved for years, and it's rarely on anybody else's list. It's just something incredibly inviting about that song. The organ, the this it's almost hypnotic, and but it has this warmth to it as well. Um, but the song is it gives you this haunting sentimentality when you hear it. Um, you know, sometimes music don't have to change the world. With protests, sometimes it's just a beautiful song that just feels like an old friend. Comfortable and familiar, and even though it's a sort of a very bizarre um, story in the song, this is just one of those songs that I've always treasured. This matter of fact, is my favorite Country Joe and the Fish song of all time. So there. Number 3, Symphony Number 2 by Egg from the album Egg. So here's where my list begins probably to separate itself from most others. Many people have never even heard of Egg. And I feel like that's unfortunate because they produce one of the most inventive instrumental pieces of music ever in progressive rock, Symphony Number 2 from the Egg album. They're not trying to entertain you in a conventional sense here. You're not going to be dancing to this. It's almost like a puzzle, but it's just absolutely mind blowing. This song, you just got to hear it. It is an instrumental piece, but it sounds like an entire orchestra is just trapped in a keyboard trying to get out. um, Impossible time signatures. It's just so complex. But what could have been a sort of a cold academic exercise in prog music, it's just got this playful energy, and it's fun. I love music that refuses to underestimate the listener, and Egg certainly doesn't do that. I mean, they assume you're willing to pay attention and to think and explore with your mind. That's one of the greatest joys to me of prog rock. The more time you invest in it, the more it gives back. So number 2 is Black Magic Woman, Gypsy Queen by Santana from the Abraxas album. Look, Carlos Santana is like David Gilmour in the way that he puts so much emotion into every note he plays. And Santana just, hush, I mean, Black Magic Woman and Gypsy Queen, this is just a hypnotic blend of blues and Latin rhythms and jazz, and it's just this pure atmosphere, and just his guitar phasing, his the liquid guitar sound of Santana just elevates this song so much. And you know instead of ending where most songs would, the band sort of like opens the door and just keeps walking through, and you go into like Gypsy Queen. But Santana's just guitar, just is like I said. I mean, it sings. It's another singer. It's another vocalist, and I feel like he and David Gilmour communicate with such feeling in so few notes. Like they're extraordinary musicians that I don't believe they're appreciated as much as they should be. But every part, every instrument in this song just fits perfectly. I feel like it's one of the greatest guitar recordings that's been made in that era. It just sounds alive, and I love it. Number one for 1970 is Adam Hart Mother from the Pink Floyd. I thought I had my Adam Hart Mother shirt on. I changed. Should have worn it. But to me, this is not simply the best song of 1970. To me, it's one of the greatest musical adventures ever recorded. At 23 minutes, Pink Floyd is not interested in writing a catchy tune. They are building an entire world. It's this triumphant brass fanfare that opens the haunting choir passages, the dreamy organ section, David Gilmour solo. You've got that playful, funky part in this song halfway through it. Like every moment feels like it's another chapter in a book of an incredible journey. What amazes me is how fearless this band was. Imagine being a rock group in 1970 and you decide to open your next album with an orchestral suite with no lyrics, uh, almost no concern for commercial success. I mean, this confidence is unheard of today. Bands couldn't get away with that today. They weren't Pink Floyd wasn't asking what the radio wanted to hear. How far can we take this? They had that spirit of experimentation that doesn't exist anymore. And that's why I love prog rock so much. For me, Adam Hart Mother represents that possibility. You don't just listen to it, you wander through it, you experience it. Every time I hear it, I notice, again, I've said this before about another song on this list, I notice something different about it, something tucked away. And it has this quality of feeling enormous. And before Echoes, before Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd gave us this glimpse of the musical universe that they were about to start creating. It is a bold, artistic statement of rock history. And to me, nothing released in 1970 surpasses it. Adam Hart Mother. So my final thoughts, I mean, looking back, 1970 is one of the greatest years in the history of music. Progressive rock was about to start stretching its boundaries. You had hard rock coming out, more and more folk, jazz. You just had so much experimentation, and it was just something that people celebrated. And to me, all these artists, all these songs, you'll never get this again. You'll never get this again. But I hope you liked the video. If you did, please like it. Please share it. Subscribe if you haven't already. It helps me out a lot. I'm trying to build my channel up and give you guys some quality content. And until next time, you guys take care.